Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. With me today is Diane Orlofsky, here to talk about the Concert Chorale and a concert coming up here shortly. Thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
And the Concert Chorale has a performance coming up this Sunday, correct?
This Sunday,
all right,
yes.
So just give us kind of a rundown, because I know every time you come here and you talk about one of these concerts, there's usually a theme. And I know there's got to be a theme for this one as well, right?
There is a theme. It's been 8 years since I've done a Christmas theme. So I thought it is time to bring around again and to start the season in the right way.
And a concert this time of year, you would think that would be a no-brainer to do Christmas, but that's not always the case.
Not always the case.
But, you know, Christmas, you know, are we talking traditional Christmas songs? Are we talking,
No,
for you, I was
you
going
doubt
to put
that, right?
money down that these were not going to be the traditional Christmas carols.
Well, actually, let me just, it's a double-edged sword. In a way, for those people that follow choral music, it is, because we've programmed a large work by Benjamin Britten called A Ceremony of Carols. So if people are familiar with choral music, that's a standard. And then we're doing a slightly lesser-known version called Christmas Cantata by Daniel Pinkham. And those two standalone works, and then we've programmed smaller things around it. But people will recognize certain tunes from the Ceremony of Carols. We're doing the entire thing.
Yeah, entire thing. And so putting together some, I guess, lesser known works of Christmas themed, how do you pick and choose? Because I know you have a process. You've been here before and you talk about, and you think about these things way in advance, but what were you looking for? And what were you trying to figure out for this one?
Yeah, create a narrative, and the narrative is really all around Advent. So it's more of the anticipation of Christmas, which really, I think, seasonally fits for this early time. And so we do, much of it is in Latin, and people shouldn't be scared by that, because I think it's really beautiful that we've provided the Latin text as well as English translation. Ceremony of Carols is actually a mixture of some Latin, a lot of Middle or Old English. Now that is interesting to sing.
Well, let's say little familiarity with Old English from English classes. So, but haven't really heard it sung a lot. Was this a challenge for the choir?
I went back to Britain and I read some of the stuff that he wrote about it and listened to a couple of recordings that he actually conducted of the work. And he said, always err on the side of understandability. So I provided a kind of a lexicon. If they hear something or see something that's spelled perhaps S-W-E-I-T, it's simply pronounced sweet. It's just spelled differently. And so giving the audience sort of a guide as they go, it's kind of interactive. I think it's kind of fun.
And interesting to be able to do that, to have to deal with the different languages. And let's talk about a little bit about chorale itself before we get back into the music, because there's a number of different choral groups and different makeup. So what can folks expect out of the chorale? What kind of group is this?
Concert Chorale is what we call a chamber choir. So we keep it under 36 members. Right now I think we're at 32. And so the sound is dare I say smaller, it's a little more intimate. And there's a lot of freedom, a lot of accountability from each voice. Each part has 8 students in them, and so everybody has to know their stuff, particularly this higher level of music. We have a lot of student soloists, unusual for this kind of concert that I do, but a lot of soloists. We have an undergraduate conductor who's reprising his role that he did last spring, Benjamin Houston, and so he's going to be conducting a number. And we have a trumpet that will be playing with us. So there's a lot of interactive things and there's a lot of variety.
So what brought about the solos, having so many solos in this one?
It's programmed in the music, you know. It's featured in the music, duets and solos and kind of interwoven with the choir things. I think it's an interesting concert to listen to because it's not just choir, 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 choir. And the kids really like to step out. They audition for the solos and there's a sense of pride.
And about how long, we've already talked about the language challenges that may face. How long do you prepare for a concert like this?
I gave them most of the music at the beginning of the term. I did a number and pulled one and added one, and they hate when I do that, that I found along the way, but most of it has been done probably since early September.
So a lot of time to work on this and finally get to show the public what this is. And speaking of showing the public what this is all about, when and where and how and all that sort of stuff, can they see it?
It's the First United Methodist Church in Troy at 3 o'clock on this coming Sunday, November November 17th.
And we're looking at a flyer for it there on the screen. Behold, a child is born. Obviously, that's some Christmas theme right there. So opportunity for folks to check that out. And once again, if they go to see it, admission for it.
Always free.
Always free. Can't complain about free. An opportunity to see the Concert Chorale, to hear some unique Christmas music, and opportunity to hear and kind of get in the spirit here at the end of the semester.
A joyous way to start the season.
All right, well, Diane, as always, thanks for joining us, and then looking forward to seeing and hearing more about what some of the choirs are doing when you join us again.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.